does PMS suck so much? In the week or so before your period, do you feel like total trash, both mentally and physically? At least to some degree. You probably do. Let me define what I mean by total trash. Physically, you might feel fatigue, constipation from elevated levels of the hormone progesterone, which slows down movement in your digestive tract, gas buildup or bloating, and water retention, also due to the elevated progesterone levels as they slow down digestion. Breast pain, tenderness and swollenness. You may feel colder than normal. Descending estrogen can cause flare-ups in certain chronic health conditions. You may even get bouts of dizziness as your inner ear undergoes changes from the changes in your hormones. Increased levels of anxiety and depression, which can increase compulsive behaviors like picking your skin, for example. If you're challenged by depression, you may notice that it worsens at the premenstrual phase because plunging estrogen brings down mood-stabilizing serotonin in the brain. You might also feel headaches and migraines, and of course, good old-fashioned cramps that happen as your body prepares to shed its uterine lining. And that's not all. Mentally and emotionally, you may feel lower mood, irritability, pessimism, caused by the dropping levels of the hormones estrogen and testosterone, which cause a withdrawal-like state in the body. You may feel quieter, less excitable, and more fatigued as levels of the hormone progesterone rise, along with its subtle sedating effect. This week or so before your period correlates with the luteal phase of your menstrual cycle, and it's known as your inner autumn. We call this phase inner autumn because the way in which our bodies are hormonally existing in put us in our human experience in a place that feels like nature's season of autumn. Meaning that in this progesterone dominant state, we seem to slow down and go inward, just like we naturally do in the season of autumn in nature. So why is it that inner autumn can be such a lousy time in the menstrual cycle? Let's start with number 1. This season of inner autumn, along with inner winter, are the seasons that are most counter to the expectations and timing of our modern world. So what we need for our bodies and minds and souls clash with the expectations and timing of the world. When you're craving a nap right before your period, you have to work so that you can pay the bills. So instead of resting, you drink another coffee or you eat something sugary to get you through. You're naturally more quiet and want to be in places that are comforting, but you're obligated to get to all your classes in school or to all your hours in work. This overriding of our needs creates tension that builds up inside of us and also ups our irritability, fatigue, anxiety, and lowness. So we have the clashing of what the world wants and expects from us, or really what our society within our world wants and expects from us, with what it is we really need. Moving on to number 2, we're in a hormonal state that's primed for lower feelings, and that makes us vulnerable. Inner autumn aligns with the luteal phase, and it's a progesterone dominant phase. The hormone progesterone has a mildly sedative effect. And depending on your sensitivity to it, as progesterone rises, you could experience a depressive state, crying spells, or intense fatigue. Also, when progesterone rises, it can make you more sensitive to a drop in blood sugar, which can lead to what many of us know as being hangry, causing more of a chance of becoming irritable, ungrounded, and not yourself. The hormone estrogen drops twice in this phase. It's the rise in this hormone that gives us the energy and confidence we may have experienced in prior weeks. But the decrease or drop in the hormone estrogen can cause the exact opposite. Low pep and energy and lower confidence, causing you to be more doubtful, pessimistic, and critical of both yourself and others. Number 3. Given the last 2 points, our greatest insecurities are likely to come up at this time. Be that physical insecurities about the way we look, or insecurities around our self-worth, or about how our lives are going overall. Number 4, given all the points I just listed, something very critical gets messed with in our inner autumn. And that is an inner voice of fierce love being turned against us, becoming an inner voice of fierce judgment and pain. Let's dive into this because it's very critical to our experience of inner autumn. This inner voice of fierce love is the inner voice that's strong in this inner season. This voice wants you to be the you that you are here to be, not the one that the world wants you to be. This voice may be critical. It may offer you a love that is tough. It may show you where you could have stepped up a little more, where you could have put in more effort, changes you need to make for yourself, where it is your insecurities exist, who you need to confront, how it is you need to look at something differently. This voice is set in an energy of love with a mission to evolve you through your life story. Now, this very same voice of fierce love can be warped and turned against us. Now, what exactly is doing the warping of this voice of fierce love into a voice of fierce hate and judgment? Well, that would be the expectations, beliefs, and unnatural timing of our modern world, combined with the hormonal state that we're in, as well as a lack of understanding and also awareness for how to navigate this inner season. And that's what I mean when I say that we are vulnerable in this time. We're already set in this lower side of our hormonal spectrum, which causes us to feel lower feelings just naturally based on where we're at hormonally. And when we're in this state, we're more likely to be negatively affected by these messages from our society, from our modern world, of how to look and what our lives should look like, and what we should have accomplished by this certain time in our life. That's what I mean by vulnerability. This voice of warped fierce love is set in an energy of self-loathing and self-destruction. It wants to tear you down and keep you small. It takes on the voice of our modern world, turning this fierce love into a stream of hurt set in lack, brokenness that can never be fixed, a feeling beating to a tune of never enoughness, and dialogue set in smallness. This is a voice of inner autumn that was not what was created for you. Fierce love was what was created for you in this inner season. The warped voice of fierce love says, you've gotten nothing done. You should have done more. You're too weak. You have nothing to be proud of. You're a mess. You are never going to achieve your dreams. You're ugly, your life is sad, and things will never change. The voice of true fierce love says, how did it go this time? What did you do in this cycle? What things hurt you? What are you proud of? How are you really? It also says, you need to shift perspective. You need to let go of that and put more into this. You really need to focus on this more. But hey, you self, regardless of what you did and didn't do in life, I love you and I've got your back. The voice of the true force of fierce love wants to show you how to be the you that you are here to be. It wants to evolve you through your story so that with each cycle, you become more and more aware of who you really are. It can be a tough and critical voice, but it speaks with deep love. This is the voice that helps you to know yourself better. Where on the other hand, that voice of destruction and hatred does not originate from you, but from a world that wants you to always see yourself as not enough, so that you'll always be insecure and you'll keep buying in to your perceived lack. Okay, that was a lot. So how do you start to hear this inner voice of true fierce love and not the warped, destructive voice? It starts with becoming aware of the difference of these two voices, which you've already begun doing by watching this video right now. And then it takes listening to what those opposing voices sound like for you. Next, you need to stand in your own authority and challenge those thoughts and questions and statements that come into your mind instead of instantly accepting them as true fact. Ask yourself, what here is backed by love and what is backed by hate? Now, some of you may be watching this and you might be like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about right now. I don't experience this and I just don't relate. And of course, we all experience our menstrual cycles differently, and our experiences will change given the stage of life we're in, how satisfied we are with our lives, how supported we feel, how loved we feel, our different lifestyles, jobs, environments, as well as our varying level of sensitivity to our changing hormones. All of these things create a variety of experiences. But I do believe that each of us have these common threads woven throughout the experiences of our cycles. To me, my experience of inner autumn is this clashing feeling, a feeling of confrontation that I can't always be at the sunny, energized, creative, sociable peak. A confrontation that, yes, because I am a woman, I can't exist in one state for very long, which can be frustrating and sometimes even agonizing. I've described inner autumn, especially late inner autumn or the premenstrual, as feeling like I'm dried to a crisp or fully saturated like a sponge. I'll feel tired of the work or projects that I'm doing, like I'm all used up. I'll feel it in my patience and in my desire to speak less and in my desire to spend more time alone. It's a natural shift from existing in an outward place with care and passion and energy for my place in the outside world to a letting go of this outward energy and an embrace into my inner energy and my inner world. Now, it's easy to give myself a hard time for this sudden lack of enthusiasm and a growing desire to be lazy and unsociable. But it's in this lack of interest, this lack of lack of passion that allows you to let go. And it's when we let go and surrender that we can receive something new, which is exactly what we are being prepared for in the upcoming inner season of winter. In inner autumn, we let go so that in inner winter, we can receive what we need for the next cycle. So with all of this, I know it's a lot. I know it is a lot. Oh my gosh, my back hurts, it's a lot. I know it's a lot, and I know it's like such a deep perspective on PMS and like this premenstrual time, but you have to like give yourself the chance to give it that much meaning, because I think it really helps to explain the complex experience that it is, and also like put words to something that it almost feels like we're not like allowed to consider having any deeper reasoning or meaning. Like we're just supposed to believe like this stereotype that like, oh, she's about to get her period, so like she's grumpy, and there's nothing more to it. Anyway, okay, let's get back to it. Okay, so with this, let's shift into the superpowers or gifts of inner autumn and how it is we best care for ourselves in this inner season. Let's start with celebration. We have the chance to celebrate all that we've done throughout the past cycle. And this is the power of completion. And when you live by the timing of your menstrual cycle, it's really beautiful because you get these cyclic opportunities to celebrate yourself and your achievements instead of just like continuing on forward with no real acknowledgement for what you've done. Inner autumn can be a time to celebrate all that you are and all that you've done and all that you've built on. It can be really special and celebratory. We also have the opportunity to see what needs to change and what's not working. This is the power of discernment, editing, and insight. And this is where you could definitely hear those opposing voices of fierce love and fierce hate and judgment. Fierce hate would turn this gift into saying, oh, like this isn't working and you're failing and you're terrible at your job and things are never gonna work out for you. Whereas this voice of fierce love would be saying to you, how about we try this a different way because this way isn't working? Or what if we did this instead because I think this would be better for you? It's a gift of discernment, editing, and insight. It helps you to see the things that could be altered and changed. And it's a gift, it's a power because it helps you to evolve. We also have the ability to use a different side of our creativity. In Inner Autumn, we have access to these deeper emotions. We tend to be more emotional, so it gives us this different side of ourselves that we can express through whatever our creative interests and talents are. I know I've talked about some of the downsides to progesterone rising, but there's also a benefit to rising progesterone. Its mildly sedating effect on the brain can actually be quite calming, and this can help you have a greater attention span for small details that you may have overlooked when your estrogen was rising earlier in your menstrual cycle. This can be a great time to do those tedious tasks that you've been putting off, or editing and revising different parts of your life. We also have the ability to let everything go. Let the leaves fall so that we can be filled up with what we need once we enter the upcoming season of inner winter. And I know that this idea of like letting everything go can sound kind of like existential. I think the idea here is like just letting things go, letting things be, like letting those thoughts, whatever, like come in, the inner voice of hatred and judgment, and also that voice that loves you and wants you to evolve forward, just kind of like letting those thoughts and those feelings come through you, but also like at the same time not clinging on to it. I think that's kind of the concept of like letting go. Like try to like ride the wave of it as opposed to like swimming against the current. Inner Autumn has given me the space to emotionally release what's built up inside of me each cycle. It also keeps me in touch with who I am and what I believe in by putting me in this critical and sensitive state. It can become a season of celebration for what I have done within that cycle. It's kind of like a fall harvest. We're playing on this theme of Inner Autumn, and this is key too in how it is I experience Inner Autumn and the premenstrual. The more I've given it my all in my inner spring and inner summer, the more satisfied I feel when I enter Inner Autumn. So it can be a time where I feel satisfied with my efforts, as well as excitement for what I'll do next. This is an inner season that definitely calls for some extra self-care and support. So here are some ideas for how we can best care for ourselves in Inner Autumn. Becoming aware of these very real effects and knowing when to expect them to show up in your cycle is really helpful. So doing some form of cycle tracking is really helpful. I personally love MCA journaling or menstrual cycle awareness journaling. I have a whole video on how to do that. I think it's the best type of cycle tracking, but whatever works for you, just whatever way you can be like, oh, it's about a week now before I get my period. I know I'm entering this premenstrual phase and I'm gonna hold a little bit of awareness for that in my mind so that I can be kind to myself and just have awareness of what it is that is probably gonna start stirring up and happening inside me. Next is eating meals that are balanced with complex carbs, protein, and healthy fat. This will help you to avoid those blood sugar drops that you can be more sensitive to because of rising progesterone. It can definitely help to just keep you more steady and just avoids any unnecessary additional added irritability and frustration. So be sure you're eating regularly and eat some good wholesome foods at each meal. Getting movement and exercise is always important, and it is very important at this phase of Inner Autumn. At this time, just do anything that feels good to you. Yoga, walks, strength training. I think just like whatever feels good. Sometimes I just need to do like a little run or more of like a higher intensity workout in my inner autumn because it helps me to like get out all my angsty feelings. What's really important too is voicing your feelings, whether that's writing it out in a journal or talking to a friend or somebody who you feel good talking to, or even having a space where you can just talk out loud to yourself. I think that's why so many people like making YouTube videos, because it's kind of therapeutic to just talk out loud to yourself, and it like gives you an excuse because you're talking to a camera. So find a way to voice your feelings and talk it out. Give yourself as much space to rest and let go of responsibilities. This is the time to say no in your menstrual cycle. Inner spring, inner summer, that was when it was the time to say yes. This is the time to just say no. Spending time outside can be refreshing and healing and just kind of put you in a good state. So get some time outside in nature. What's important too is making space for discomfort and not feeling like we have to do things to make those lower, less enjoyable feelings to go away. It's definitely a mindset in our world that we like always have to be happy and optimistic and energized and whatever, but it's also okay to not feel that way. I think it's important to make the space to just be like, it's fine that I feel this way. I'm gonna do the things that I know support me, but I don't need to do these things with the intention of like needing to make these feelings go away. Like it's more about like riding the wave of it than it is about like shutting off those feelings or feeling like you just have to like get rid of them, if that makes sense. So like make space for those feelings to exist. This is also a great time to dive into creative outlets or things you've had to set aside through the other parts of your cycle. Like I said too, it's a great time to put those higher beautiful emotions into your creative projects, into your hobbies, and put your focus into that, because it can be a really good place for that energy and emotion to go. Then we have our classic self-care things like taking an Epsom salt bath. Epsom salts have magnesium in it, which is really good for our bodies overall, and it can also help with cramping. So it's a great thing to start doing in the premenstrual phase. Drinking different herbal teas is also really nice. I like to drink red raspberry leaf tea a couple of days before my period starts, so in this inner autumn phase, because I've noticed that it really helps lessen the severity of my cramps. Also, singing, using your voice, and also listening to music that mirrors the feelings that you're feeling. It's also really good to stay as present as you can, because this helps you to make some space between your feelings and your actions, which I think helps us to be kinder and less reactive to other people in this time. The season of inner autumn is the very season that helps us to evolve and face areas of ourselves that need attention and care. It's the inner season where we have the opportunity to rip off our rose-colored glasses and have a good cry for the deeper parts of ourselves. Given that, it's a time where we need more support. So I encourage you to really add in some of these self-care practices. And with all of this, all of us know someone with a menstrual cycle. So all of us can consider how we can best advocate for one another. Like when I'm in the premenstrual inner autumn phase and anyone points out that I'm grumpy, I literally just want to be like, shut up. My body is hormonally coded right now to exist in a place of deep feeling. And it also has effects of fatigue and the ability to make me more anxious and sad. Not only that, I'm balancing between a voice of hate and one of fierce love that's trying to evolve me through my life story. So please, just shut up. No, but really, I think more of us need to understand why women do get this way. It's not like we just woke up and decided to be grumpy and irritable and annoyed with everyone. Our hormones are literally altering our inner landscape. So instead of calling her grumpy and adding fuel to her fire, either give her some space or ask her with true care, how are you really, and what can I do for you? Be the voice of fierce love for her and not the voice of the world that tells her she can't be the way she is. And at the same time, we as women need to understand why it is we feel the way we feel in this premenstrual time, so that we can best advocate for ourselves and our needs, and for that of others. Inner autumn is the season where the whistle blows or the bell rings and it's time to pack up and come home to yourself. We step away from our doing and achieving outward self and turn into our inner selves. It's the season that's most at odds with our modern world, leaving us vulnerable to a voice of lack that is not our own. It's the season that inner fierce love, tough love, critical love comes to debrief us from what happened through the cycle. It's a time where we slow down, we become better at tasks that require us to look at the fine details and be in places that are familiar and comforting. It's a season that requires strength, love, grace, acceptance, and letting go. I think a lot of the pain and tension and frustration that we feel in inner autumn isn't because we as women are destined to struggle in this premenstrual state, cycle after cycle, month after month, but rather we haven't learned how to make space for ourselves to be cared for in it, because our modern world has no regard for our menstrual cycles. So we too have been taught to disregard them. I hope all of this gives your premenstrual time, your inner autumn, a voice, so that you no longer enter this season blindly with no context as to what's going on. I hope all of this makes you feel less alone, more empowered, and understanding of this phase of the menstrual cycle. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I know premenstrual and this inner autumn phase is a lot. Like, it comes with a lot. So thank you for being here with me today to learn more about it. Before you head off, I hope that you will subscribe so that when another video from me comes in, you'll be ready to learn a little bit more about you. Like this video to support growing the knowledge of the menstrual cycle. Leave me a comment down below because I would love to hear from you, and I would love to see a community form around this topic. It means so much to me, and I would just love to see that being shared with other people. So leave me a little comment down below. Again, I just want to mention these two books because they've helped me create this content and they deserve some credit for that. Definitely check these out if you want to learn more about your inner seasons or your menstrual cycle or periods. Great books. From the growing light in me into the growing light in you. Thank you, and I will see you next time.